Juwan Johnson finished tight end 11 last year, 42 receptions, 65 targets, 508 yards, 7 touchdowns, average of 4.1 targets per game. Thoughts on Juwan Johnson?
I like Juwan Johnson because of where he's going. Like, I think there's tremendous value as he's kind of the forgotten tight end. And so if you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting on tight end, right? Travis Kelce, or you wait, like we talked about a few weeks ago, this is a guy who's a prime candidate to sit back and wait and snatch him up. Like, I think that he will hit those numbers or even surpass them this season. He's really started to come into his own here. All of last season and really the back end of 2 years ago. And he was a guy that we talked about when we talked about the Saints coming into last year, saying, hey, keep an eye out. Like, you may not like to draft him, but keep an eye out on the waiver wire. And if you did, that waiver wire panned out. He's getting into the end zone. He's a big body in the middle of the field. So it lets Olave, Michael Thomas, who whatever, kind of do the outside or some of the underneath stuff, while Johnson kind of gets on that back line of the end zone, and they're just playing pitch and catch at high point. So I'm okay with this. Is he going to be a, set it and forget it tight end? No, you're going to want another piece with it. But when the matchups are right and you're feeling it, he is absolutely serviceable in a platoon approach for your fantasy roster.
Yeah, and what you have to feel comfortable with was the numbers that he put up last year. I mean, those 42 catches on 65 targets. Like, he's catching the football when it's being thrown at him, right? Like, these are targets that are very, very useful. And the 7 touchdowns, even with the Taysom Hill problem, and we'll address that problem here next, but he still found the end zone 7 times. Like, that's pretty darn remarkable considering the weapon that is Taysom Hill, or I shouldn't say weapon, the touchdown vulture that is Taysom Hill down there in the red zone. So you have to like that. And again, to Kevin's point, like, yeah, he is not a set it and forget it, but he is a comfortable play more weeks than not.
The guy that has managed to find his way into the end zone with some not overly great quarterback play the last couple of years in New Orleans, right? Like, Andy Dalton's not the answer for, just about any team out there. There's a reason that he keeps moving along and finding new pit stops there. But Juwan Johnson's a guy I've got on several dynasty rosters, and I'm very happy with what that has turned into and where that's looking and the trajectory going forward on that. As far as redraft goes this year, absolutely. Like, I love this guy as a late round, deep, the late round tight end and playing that game there, because he will give you a bunch of kind of blow up type of performances on this one. Games where he could potentially come down with 2 touchdowns when it's all said and done. Like, this is a guy that can absolutely tear it up for you. Had several finishes last year where he was tight end 2 on the week, had a couple more tight end 4s, tight end 5. Like, this is a guy that's going to get a bunch of play here and be able to be a guy that's going to return some value for you on a streaming tight end candidate. So absolutely love that pick and love where he's coming off the board at, because he's coming off the board tight end 18. Sign me up for Juwan Johnson.